All right, and we're live. Welcome to an all new Coatings Talk live stream where the protective coatings and corrosion communities come together to learn, share, and elevate our industries. Whether you're joining from a job site, an office, a lab, or somewhere in between, I'm glad that you're here with me tonight. This live stream is your space to explore ideas, ask questions, and connect with a community of qualified, quality professionals who share deeply about doing things the right way. So settle in, get ready to engage, and let's kick off another conversation that strengthens our knowledge, it'll sharpen our skills, and it'll move the coatings and corrosion industries forward. But before we get into this live stream, I want to talk about the sponsor for this live stream, and that's Apelix, especially related to their spray painting drones and their power wash drones. Today's Coatings Talk live stream is proudly sponsored by Apelix Drone Solutions, the pioneers of aerial robotic systems that's transforming industrial safety and efficiency in painting and also surface cleaning. Apelix drones perform precision tasks like pressure washing, spray painting, and also eventually non-destructive testing inspections. And without scaffoldings or lift, this means reduced risk, lower cost, and smarter asset management for vertical structures, for tanks, for bridges, and more. Trusted worldwide, Apelix is redefining how industries protect and maintain critical infrastructure and how contractors enhance their operations and generate additional revenue using Apelix drones. Safer, smarter, faster. That's Apelix Drone Solutions. Efficiency from the air. Now, after last Monday's Coatings Talk Insight article, I decided to really kind of base this live stream on the incredible number of emails and direct messages that I got and a lot of feedback I got back related to that article. And what I want to do is go through the article, but also through that article, I want to add some more commentary on top of what the article covered. So this is the article that released last Monday, and it's Becoming a Content Creator in Protective Coatings and Corrosion, a practical guide for industry professionals. Let's go through the article. Did you know in technical sectors like protective coatings and corrosion, the most popular forms of content are those that deliver clarity, practicality, and real-world relevance? During 2025, short-form educational videos, quick explainers, and field demonstrations, inspection tips, and product use breakdowns became especially powerful because they met professionals where they are, on their mobile devices, between tasks that they were performing, sometimes after field work, and long-term articles and case studies. They remain highly valued for deeper learning, particularly when they unpack failure analysis, standards interpretation, or lessons learned from complex projects. Webinars and podcasts continue to grow in popularity because they allow experts to share insights in conversational, accessible formats that fit into busy schedules. Visual content, diagrams, workflow charts, coating system comparisons, and corrosion mechanism illustrations also perform exceptionally well, while helping simplify concepts that are otherwise difficult to communicate. Now, together, these formats created a dynamic ecosystem of learning that supports everyone from new laypersons to really seasoned inspectors and also engineers. So let me add some additional context to this. The first element I want to cover context is related to community-driven knowledge. And that sharing is becoming a force multiplier. Professionals are increasingly relying on peer-generated insights, also comments, field photos, troubleshooting threads, and also micro lessons that are shared on LinkedIn, YouTube, and other industry forums. Now, this grassroots layer of content adds an authentic aspect to them, but it also accelerates problem solving and it helps surface real world challenges that formal training materials often overlook. The second context is on demand modular learning. It's really reshaping training expectations. Now, instead of using long linear courses, professionals now prefer more modular content, bite-sized lessons, and also topic-specific playlist and searchable micro chapters. Now, this format allows inspectors, applicators, and engineers to quickly access exactly what they need at that moment and when they really need to use it, whether it's on surface preparation or maybe a reminder or an aspect of a specification. The third area is cross platform consistency. That really strengthens brand trust and also technical credibility. Now, audiences respond best when content maintains a consistent message, tone, and visual identity. And that's across formats. It could be videos, articles, webinars, or even infographics or info diagrams. Now, this cohesion reinforces expertise. It also improves retention and it helps technical creators build a recognizable, reliable presence in a very crowded digital landscape. Now, let's talk about why the industry needs more voices. The protective coatings and corrosion industries are standing at a pivotal moment. Infrastructure is aging, regulatory expectations are rising, and asset owners are demanding clearer, faster, and more accessible technical guidance. Yet the flow of high quality educational content has not always kept pace with the complexity of today's modern materials, inspection technologies, and also digital workflows. Much of the industry's knowledge still lives in the minds of senior, seasoned professionals, and it's scattered across job sites, labs, and also offices. As a result, new engineers, new inspectors, and also skilled applicators, when they're coming on online, they often struggle to find reliable, digestible information that bridges the gap between standards, science, and real world practice. Now, this is where content creators become essential. They're not entertainers, but they're translators of critical knowledge. And at the same time, the way professionals learn has fundamentally changed. Digital platforms have become the primary classroom for the next generation of corrosion and coatings experts. Short form videos, technical explainers, podcasts, and case study breakdowns now shape how people really absorb information and make decisions. Yet, compared to other technical fields, both are the industries of coatings and corrosion. They really remain unrepresented in the digital space. And the absence of diverse voices means missed opportunities, fewer shared lessons learned, slower adoption of innovation, and limited visibility for emerging best practices. When more professionals step forward to create content, whether through articles or through videos or micro lessons, they really help elevate the entire field, share expertise, and strengthen global knowledge transfer. Most importantly, new voices bring new perspectives. The industry benefits from when applicators share their field realities, when inspectors break down common pitfalls, and when chemists explain the formulation logic, and also when engineers highlight design considerations. Each viewpoint adds a dimension to the collective understanding of corrosion control. And by contributing content, professionals don't just build their personal brand, but they also help build a more informed and safer and innovative industry. So let me add some additional context to this. First, I want to talk about the industry. It's entering into a generational knowledge transfer gap. A significant portion of the workforce is nearing retirement, and with them goes decades of information, experience, knowledge, and a lot of that has never been formally documented. And without proactive content creation, videos, explainers, field walkthroughs, and standards interpolation, the industry risks losing critical insights that the younger professionals cannot easily replace. Content creators can help preserve institutional memory and also ensure continuity across generations. Second, digital credibility is becoming an important aspect of technical credibility. So, as professionals increasingly turn to online platforms for answers, the individuals and companies that consistently publish accurate, practical, and also well-structured content, they become de facto authorities. This shift means that expertise is no longer measured only by the certifications that you carry or the years in the field. but it relates to one's ability to communicate clearly, to teach effectively, and contribute to the global knowledge ecosystem. Third is content creation. It accelerates innovation by breaking down silos. Historically, coatings formulation, the inspection industry, application, engineers, and asset owners, they've all operated in separate spheres. When each group begins sharing insights publicly, whether through micro lessons, through case studies, or also field demonstrations, it really creates a cross pollination of ideas. Now, this transparency also helps identify reoccurring problems more faster. It exposes inefficiencies and it sparks the collaboration solutions that would not emerge within isolated teams or companies that are siloed. Now, let's go back to the article and talk about understanding your role as a technical content creator. Stepping into the role of a technical content creator in the protective coatings and corrosion industries means embracing a dual identity. You're both an educator and also an interpreter. Your primary responsibility is to translate complex scientific standards and field practices into content that is accurate, that's accessible, and it's genuinely useful. Unlike general influencers, technical creators operate in a space where credibility is earned through precision, clarity, and respect for the craft. Your audience, who are engineers, they're inspectors, they're applicators, and they're asset owners, and also I'll throw in their university students, they expect information that really helps them solve real problems, avoid costly mistakes, and also deepen their understanding of corrosion control. And this makes your role fundamentally service oriented. Now, you're contributing to the collective knowledge base of an industry that really depends on shared expertise to protect all the critical infrastructure. And at the same time, being a technical content creator means that you're recognizing that that you hold influence. Your voice shapes how emerging professionals learn, how companies interpret standards, and how the industry perceives new technologies or new methodologies. With that influence comes responsibility. You're not just posting content, you're setting expectations for quality, for accuracy, and professionalism. And this requires a commitment to continuous learning, staying current with standards and also innovations, and importantly, being transparent about the limits of your own expertise. When you share insights from the field, break down failure mechanisms, or explain coating system selection, you're helping elevate the entire industry's knowledge level. In doing so, you're becoming more of a contributor. You're a trusted guide in the field where everything matters. Ultimately, your role is to bridge gaps between theory and also practice, between seasoned experts and new entrants, and between the industry's traditional knowledge and the channels that they have, and also the digital platforms where the next generation is already learning. When you embrace that role with intention and with integrity, you don't just create content, you create impact. So let me add some additional context to this. First, you really become a curator of standards, not just a communicator. Technical content creators play a crucial role in helping the industry navigate evolving standards, specifications, and best practice documents. By distilling this dense technical language into practical guidance, you help professionals really understand not just what the standard says, but how and why it matters. And also, too importantly, how it can be applied correctly. In looking at this role, you really reduce misinterpretation. You're going to support compliance and you're going to reinforce the industry's commitment to safety and also quality of work. The second aspect is that your model professional behavior and technical integrity. It becomes a reference point for how professionals should think, how they should communicate, and approach problem solving. When you demonstrate disciplined reason, each transparency, and respect for the craft, you set a tone that others follow. In this way, your work influences not only knowledge transfer, but also the culture of the industry, encouraging rigor, humility, and also continuous improvement. And last, you help democratize access to expertise. Now, historically, high level coatings and corrosion knowledge has been concentrated within specific companies and also trade associations, senior experts, or even when you have closed training environments. But by creating open source, accessible content, you help level the playing field. Students, early career professionals, small contractors, and also the international audience, they can gain access into insights that were once difficult to obtain. And this democratization strengthens the global workforce. It supports safer practices and it also accelerates the adoption of modern technologies. So let's talk about identifying your niche and signature voice. And this is very critical. Finding your niche is one of the most important steps in becoming a successful technical content creator in the protective coatings and corrosion industries. Both fields are vast. They span surface preparation, coating formulation, inspection, cathodic protection, asset integrity, failure analysis, standards interpretation, digital tools, sustainability, and so much more. Now, trying to cover everything, it really dilutes your impact. Instead, you might want to consider focusing on the intersection of your own professional expertise, also what you're curious about, and the challenges that your typical audience of who you're working with or you're aligned with that they consistently face. Maybe you're the person who can break down coding failures with clarity, and maybe you excel explaining inspection techniques or demystifying standards. Maybe your strength lies in connecting field realities with emerging technologies. So, whatever it is, choosing a niche helps your audience understand what you stand for and why they should return to your content. Now, once your niche is defined, your signature voice becomes really the difference, and that's what sets you apart. In technical industries, voice isn't about being flashy, it's about being recognizable, about being trustworthy and consistent. Now, some creators lean into calm, authoritative tones that really mirror a seasoned inspector that might be walking a job site. Others adopt a more narrative style, weaving field stories and lessons learned into every post. And some creators excel at simplifying complexity, while others bring a global perspective that connects practices across regions and also cultures. Your voice should reflect who you are as a professional and what you want your audience to feel when they engage with your content. When your niche and your voice are in alignment, you really create a brand identity that feels authentic, memorable, and uniquely yours. One that elevates both your message and influence within the industry. Let me add additional context on this. So, the first thing is that your niche should evolve as your expertise in the industry evolves. This is something that I prescribe to. So, a niche isn't a fixed designation, it's a living space that grows with you. So, as things change, such as standards, new technologies might emerge, and your own experience really expands, your niche can and it should adapt. Maybe you bring by explaining inspection fundamentals, but over time you become really known for digital inspection tools or maybe sustainable driven coding strategies. So you want to treat your niche as a dynamic compass rather than a rigid box. And this allows your content to stay relevant and also forward looking. Next, your signature voice. That really builds emotional connection in a technical world. Even in highly technical fields, people remember how you make them feel. A strong signature voice, whether calm, energetic, story driven, or globally contextual, it creates something that's really familiar. And also, it trust. It turns your content from just informational into relational. When your audience feels connected to your tone and perspective, they're more likely to return to share your work and also to view you as a reliable guide through complex topics. And alignment between niche and voice, well, that creates a predictable, valuable experience. Now, professionals that follow creators who deliver consistent value, let's say when your niche is what you teach and your voice, how you teach it, when they work together, your audience knows exactly what to expect from you. And this predictability becomes part of your brand promise. Whether someone is looking for a quick inspection tip or a breakdown of a coating failure, or maybe a cross-cultural perspective on international standards. Well, they know that your content will deliver clarity, relevance, and insight every time. All right, now back to the article. Let's talk about the essential content formats for the coatings and corrosion space. The protective coatings and corrosion industries thrive on clarity, practicality, and visual understanding. So the most effective content formats are those that really help professionals quickly grasp complex concepts and apply them in the field. Short form educational videos become especially influential because they deliver fast, digestible insights that fit naturally into the workflow of inspectors, applicators, and also engineers. A 30 to 60-second clip demonstrating surface preparation techniques, explaining a coating failure, or showing how to use a specific inspection tool can reach thousands of professionals and spark meaningful discussions. And these videos work because they mirror real-world scenarios and they provide immediate value. Long-form content such as detailed articles, white papers, and case studies, these remain equally important because they offer the depth needed to explore industry standards, failure mechanisms, or system selection in the way that supports training specification development and also continuing education. Now, visual formats also play a critical role in the industry. Diagrams, workflow charts, coating system comparisons, corrosion mechanism illustrations, and inspection checklists help simplify topics that are otherwise difficult to communicate through text alone. These visuals are highly shareable and often become reference tools for teams in the field. Webinars and podcasts, they continue to grow in popularity, as well as giving a professional a chance to hear experts discuss challenges, innovations, and lessons learned in a conversational format. Well, that fits into really, and it also is perfect for commutes or downtime. Now, panel discussions, interviews, and question and answer sessions, they help to humanize the industry and they create a sense of community around shared knowledge. Together, these content formats really form a powerful ecosystem, one that supports learning and also elevates expertise and strengthens the global coatings and corrosion community. So let me add some additional context here. Interactive and hands-on digital tools are becoming essential learning aids. Moving beyond static visuals and videos, interactive formats such as clickable diagrams, digital simulations, augmented reality overlays, and step-by-step troubleshooting modules, also gamification, they're emerging as powerful educational tools. These formats allow professionals to practice decision-making, explore coating systems layer by layer, or visualize corrosion mechanisms in motion. Now, interactivity, that transforms passive learning into active skill building. And this makes complex concepts easier to internalize and also to work with in the field. The second aspect is field-generated content. Well, it adds the authentic and it drives practical understanding. User-generated field content, photos, quick walkthroughs, failure snapshots, and on-site commentary, this has become a very valuable complement to polished educational material. And these real-world glimpses help bridge the gap between the theory and also the practice. And this gives audience a real clearer sense of what corrosion, surface prep, or coating defects might actually look like in an uncontrolled environment. And this being authentic, well, this builds trust and also accelerates learning, especially for early career professionals. Number 3, multi-format storytelling strengthens retention and it also broadens reach. The most effective creators repurpose a single topic across multiple formats. A short video becomes a deeper article, which becomes a webinar discussion, which becomes a visual checklist, which becomes a live stream. Now, this multi-format approach reinforces key lessons, but it also meets different learning preferences, and it ensures that critical knowledge reaches everyone from the office to the field. So you have anything from inspectors, engineers, office workers, and also students in classrooms. So when content is strategically layered, it becomes more memorable, more accessible, and more impactful across the global industries. So let's talk about tools and platforms that amplify your voice. In the protective coatings and corrosion industries, choosing the right tools and platforms can dramatically expand your reach and influence. LinkedIn remains the most powerful hub for professional visibility, especially for technical educators and thought leaders. Its algorithm rewards consistency, expertise, and engagement. And this makes it it's really ideal for sharing micro lessons, field insights, case studies, and short videos. YouTube, on the other hand, well, it serves a different but equally important purpose. It's the home for evergreen technical education. Tutorials, standard explainers, coding system walkthroughs, and long form discussions thrive there because professionals return to them repeatedly as reference material. Podcasts and webinar platforms add another layer of depth, allowing you to host interviews, panel discussions, and deeper dives that build trust and authority with your audience. Now, these formats really help to allow the hosts, the interviews, the panel discussions. It really helps to develop authority with the audience. And these formats create multi-channel ecosystems where your voice can reach inspectors in the field, engineers in the office, and also students preparing to enter either the coatings or protective coatings industries. Now, behind the scenes, digital tools help strengthen and streamline your workflow and also elevate the quality of your content. Scheduling platforms like Buffer and Hootsuite help your posting consistency across multiple channels. Analytic tools reveal really which topics resonate most, helping you refine your strategic and focus on high value content. AI powered tools such as voice generation, transcription, and editing assistance, well, this can help accelerate production and maintain really a polished professional tone across all formats. Visual design tools like Canva or industry specific diagramming, that could help you create clear, compelling graphics that simplify complex concepts. Whether and when used strategically, these tools don't replace your expertise. They're going to help amplify it, and they allow you to scale your impact and also maintain a strong digital presence, but also deliver high quality educational content that supports the entire coatings and corrosion communities. So let me add a little additional to this. Let's talk about platform specific optimization. Well, that maximizes visibility and engagement. So each platform has its own rhythm, audience behavior, and also content preferences. LinkedIn favors concise insights and professional discussions. YouTube rewards in depth, structure, and search-friendly titles. Now, audio podcasts thrive on the conversational flow and expert storytelling. By tailoring your content to the strength of each platform rather than posting identical material everywhere, well, this ensures that your message lands with maximum impact and reaches the audience in the right format. Now, let's talk about cross-platform integration, because this creates a cohesive learning journey. Your platform shouldn't operate in isolation. When you link a short LinkedIn video to a deeper YouTube tutorial, or you turn a webinar discussion into a podcast episode, well, you're creating a seamless ecosystem that guides your audience from quick insights to comprehensive understanding. And this interconnected approach strengthens your brand identity. It increases content longevity and also helps professionals engage with your material at a depth and a pace that they prefer. Let's talk about workflow systems and content libraries, because these enable long-term sustainability. As your presence grows, maintaining consistency becomes easier when you build internal systems, content calendars, topic libraries, reusable templates, and standardized visual styles. These systems reduce production time. They prevent burnout, and they ensure that your messaging remains clear and cohesive across all channels. Over time, This operational discipline becomes a competitive advantage, which allows you to scale your influence without really sacrificing the quality. So let's talk about in the article building credibility through consistency and value. Credibility in the protective coatings and corrosion industries, it's not built overnight. It's earned through steady, reliable contributions that demonstrate both expertise and integrity. Consistency is the foundation. When you show up regularly with insights, lessons learned, field observations, or standards-based explanations, your audience begins to trust that you're committed to educating and evaluating or elevating the industry. This doesn't mean posting every day. It means maintaining a rhythm your audience can really depend on. And over time, that consistency signals professionalism, discipline, and respect for the craft. Qualities that really resonate deeply in a field where precision and reliability are non-negotiable. Even small, steady contributions compound into a strong reputation. And value is the second pillar. It's when really what transforms consistency into influence. In a technical industry, value comes from solving real problems, explaining why coding failed, breaking down misunderstood standards, sharing inspection tips that prevent rework, or highlighting innovations that improve safety and performance. When your content helps someone make a better decision in the field or understand a concept, they should not struggle with it. You become a trusted resource. And that resource is powerful because it positions you not just a content creator, but as a knowledge leader who also contributes to the industry's collective knowledge. By focusing on clarity, accuracy, and practical relevance, you ensure that every piece of content reinforces your credibility and strengthens your connection with professionals who rely on your insights. So let me add a little bit of additional context here. The first thing is transparency and humility, because this strengthens long-term trust. Credibility grows when creators openly acknowledge the limits of their expertise. They'll cite standards or sources, and they'll clarify when a topic has multiple valid interpretations. In an industry where mistakes can be costly, the transparency signals maturity and integrity. Admitting that you're still learning or inviting others to add to their perspectives, this creates a culture of shared growth and positions you as a real trustworthy, grounded voice rather than someone trying to appear infallible. Secondly, engagement is part of the value that you deliver. Credibility isn't built only through what you publish, it's reinforced with how you interact. Thoughtful responses to comments, clarifying questions, and respect dialogue that shows you're invested in helping the community. Not just broadcasting information. When professionals see that you're consistently engaging with real challenges, offering guidance, or even redirecting someone to a more qualified expert, well, your reputation for reliability deepens. And number three, consistency and value create a compounding expertise signal. Over time, your body of work becomes a visible archive of your thinking, your standards, and your commitment to the craft. Each post, video, or diagram becomes another data point that reinforces your expertise. And this cumulative signal really helps asset owners, engineers, and inspectors quickly recognize your authority, which makes your insights more influential than your recommendations are really more trusted. The compounding effect turns steadily contributions into long-term industry leadership. So let's talk about, in the article, storytelling for technical professionals. Storytelling is one of the most powerful tools a technical content creator can use, especially in industries like protective coatings and corrosion. When concepts can be dense, scientific, and highly specialized, a well-told story that transforms technical information into something relatable and memorable. Instead of simply explaining a failure mechanism, you can walk your audience through the moment an inspector discovered the issue, the environmental conditions at play, the decisions that were made on the spot, and the lessons that were learned afterwards. This narrative approach really gives context to the science and standards, but it also helps professionals connect theory to real world application. It also humanizes the work, reminding audiences that beyond every or behind every coding system or corrosion challenge are a group of people or a person that are making decisions to impact safety, performance, and asset longevity. Effective storytelling also becomes what you share of your own experience. In a way, that builds trust and credibility. Field stories, project wins, unexpected failures, and cross cultural insights all become vehicles for teaching. When you describe the challenge you were faced, whether it was a coding that didn't cure as expected, or a misinterpreted standard, or maybe even a breakthrough moment during the inspection, you really invite your audience into your world. And these stories resonate because they reflect the realities of the industry. By unpredictability of job sites and the importance of communication and the constant need for problem solving, by blending narrative with technical accuracy, you really create content that not only informs, but it also inspires. And that helps others see themselves in the work and encouraging them to really share their own expertise. So let me add a little extra to this part of the article. The first thing is storytelling helps reveal the why behind technical decisions. Technical content often focuses on what happened and how it was resolved. But really, stories illuminate the why, the reasoning, the trade offs, and the judgment calls that professionals made under real world constraints. By really narrating this decision making process, you help your audience understand the logic behind choosing a surface prep method, rejecting a coating batch, or adjusting an inspection plan. This insight strengthens critical thinking and empowers really others to make better decisions in the field. Number two, stories create shared language and cultural memory across the industry. When professionals hear memorable field stories about a near miss or a clever workaround or lessons learned the hard way, they become part of the industry's collective memory. These standard stories really circulate through teams, companies, and training programs. And this shapes how people talk about corrosion risk, coating failures, or safety practices. Over time, storytelling helps really unify diverse professionals across common experiences and reinforces a culture of learning and vigilance. Number three, narrative structure makes complex concepts easier to teach and, importantly, retain. A well crafted story naturally provides structure, a setup, a challenge, a turning point, and a resolution. These structures act really as cognitive uh, anchors for you. They help you and also your audience remember technical details that might have otherwise got forgotten. When you embed standards interpretation, environmental factors, and coding chemistries into a narrative arc, you're really transforming it from an abstract informational into something that's sticky. And some people can really recall this when they're working on another job 6 months later. Let's go back to the article and engaging your audience and growing influence. Engaging your audience in the protective coatings corrosion industries begins with creating content that invites conversation rather than simply broadcasting information. Professionals in this field, they value the authentic, the clarity, and practical relevance. So the more your content reflects real world challenges and solutions, the more likely there are to spark meaningful interaction. So ask questions, encourage others to share their experiences, and also respond through comments. Now, these small signals they're not just teaching, but they're participating in a community of practice. Engagement grows when people feel seen and heard, and when your content becomes a catalyst for shared learning rather than a one-way lecture. Other times, this approach builds a loyal audience that views your platform as a trusted space for discussion and also insights. Now, growing your influence requires a strategic a blend of consistency, of collaboration, and visibility. By partnering with other industry professionals, inspectors, chemists, applicators, engineers, or even manufacturers, well, this will expand your reach and expose your audience to a more diverse perspective. Participating in industry events, webinars, and panel discussions further strengthens your credibility and positions you as an active contributor to the broader conversation around corrosion control and protective coatings. Now, as your presence grows, your influence becomes less of a follower count, but more of a depth of impact. Are people learning from you? Are they applying your insights in the field? Are you helping elevate the industry's collective knowledge? And when your content consistently delivers value, engagement, fosters community, influence becomes a natural outcome of the trust that you've earned. So let me add a little extra here as well. First, thought leadership emerges when you take a stand on important industry topics. Now, influence grows when you're willing to articulate informed perspectives on issues that matter. Misinterpretations of standards, common inspection pitfalls, emerging technologies, or gap in industry training. Thought leadership isn't just about being controversial. It's about being courageous, enough to clarify, contextualize, and really provide guidance. When you consistently provide grounded, experience-based viewpoints, your audience begins to rely on you, not just for information, but interpretation and direction. Second, creating opportunities for participation that strengthens community loyalty. So, engagement deepens when your audience feels like co-creators, and also they're not considered passive viewers. So polls, Q&A prompts, even questions like what would you do scenarios, and really request for field, maybe even asking for field photos or lessons learned. That will invite professionals to contribute their expertise. And this really, as a participation, this really allows a transformative aspect of your platform and makes it a more shared learning environment where really multiple voices can really shape the conversation. And over time, this sense of ownership builds a highly loyal and also a highly invested community. And also, I'd like to talk about influence, how when it expands, when you're a champion that others, and you elevate also to their expertise. So one of the most overlooked ways to grow your influence is by spotlighting the work of others, sharing insights from inspectors in the field, highlighting innovations from chemists, or amplifying lessons learned from applicators. When you celebrate the expertise around you, you become a connector, not just a creator. And this generosity strengthens relationships. It expands your network, and it positions you as someone who contributes to the industry's collective success rather than competing for attention. So let's go back to the article and talk about monetization and career opportunities. So becoming a content creator in the protective coatings and corrosion industries, it opens the door to a wide range of professional opportunities, mainly of which are extended far beyond traditional job roles. Now, as you build credibility and visibility through consistent, high-value content, you naturally position yourself as a trusted expert. And this reputation can lead to paid speaking engagements at conferences, workshops, and industry events where organizations are eager to bring in voices that can educate and inspire. And companies may also approach you for sponsorship on content, for doing product demonstrations, or collaborative educational series. And this really provides you to maintain transparency and also uphold ethical standards. Additionally, your content can serve as a portfolio that showcases your communication skills, your technical knowledge, and leadership potential, making you a strong candidate for consulting roles, advisory positions, or career advancement within your own current company. And digital platforms also create opportunities for scalable monetization. You can develop online courses, certification prep materials, or specialized training materials tailored to inspectors, applicators, engineers, or asset owners. And these offerings can generate recurring revenue while helping elevate the industry's knowledge base. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and newsletters can attract sponsorships or advertising partnerships. And once your audience reaches a certain size, some creators even launch really niche products such as field guides, checklists, and templates, or digital tools that really solve industry pain points. Ultimately, the combination of expertise, visibility, and trust that gives you the flexibility to shape a career that blends education, leadership, and entrepreneurship. And in a field hungry for accessible knowledge and strong communicators, your content can become both a service to the industry and a catalyst for your own professional growth. So let me add some additional context into this. Let's talk about how industry partnerships, how they can evolve into long-term strategic roles. As your influence grows, companies may look beyond the one-off collaboration and invite you into the deeper partnership, such as being on an advisory board or working with research and development as a feedback group, beta testing programs for new inspection tools, or co-development of training curricula. And these roles not only provide compensation, but they also give you a seat at the table where future technology, standards, and best practices are really shaped. Your content becomes a strategic bridge between industry needs and industry innovation. Next, your content, it can become an asset that generates opportunities automatically. A strong library of videos, articles, diagrams, and case studies functions as a living portfolio that works for you around the clock. Recruiters, conference organizers, and manufacturers often discover creators through their content, not through traditional applications. And this pull effect means opportunities begin to find you. Innovations to keynotes, recognized request for expert commentary, offering to contribute to standard committees or collaboration with universities and training organizations. Third is personal branding opens the door to entrepreneur ventures. One way to build a recognizable voice and niche, well, you can expand into an entrepreneurial pathway that aligns with your expertise. Now, this might include launching a consulting practice, creating a micro identity academy, for specialized training, developing priority inspection tools or digital calculators, or even building a subscription-based knowledge hub for professionals. This is your brand, and it becomes the foundation of a business ecosystem that blends technical authority with scalable educational products. All right, let's go back to the article and talk about ethical and professional considerations. Ethics and professionalism really form the backbone of credible content creator in the protective coatings and corrosion industries, because your audience relies on your insights to make decisions that affect safety, asset longevity, and regulatory compliance. Accuracy is non-negotiable. Every piece of content you publish should be grounded in verifiable information, standards, field data, and manufacturer guidance, or really firsthand experience. When you're unsure, it's better to clarify the limits of your knowledge than to speculate. This transparency builds trust and reinforces your reputation as a responsible educator. And equally important is respecting the confidentiality. Many of the most valuable lessons come from real projects, but sharing proprietary details, client information, or sensitive failures without permission can damage relationships and undermine your credibility. Ethical creators know how to extract the lessons without exposing the people or the organizations behind it. Professionalism also extends to how you handle partnerships, sponsorships, and product mentions. As your influence grows, companies may approach you to highlight their technologies or solutions. And there's nothing wrong with collaboration as long as you maintain honesty and also disclose a relationship when it becomes appropriate. Your audience should never have to guess whether your recommendation is based on a genuine experience or a paid arrangement. Upholding this clarity really protects your identity and your integrity, but it also ensures that your content remains trustworthy. Additionally, avoiding despairing competitors or presenting opinions as universal truths. The coatings and corrosion industries are diverse with multiple valid approaches depending on the environment, substrate, and also performance requirements. Each ethical creator acknowledges nuance, respecting different viewpoints, and contribute to a culture of consistent, constructive of dialogue. By holding yourself to high professional standards, you not only protect your own reputation, but you also help to the whole entire industry expectation for responsibility for high quality communication. So let me add some additional context to this. Ethical creators really prioritize safety over popularity. In the coatings and corrosion industries, the stakes are very high. There can be poor guidance that can really lead to failures. There could be safety hazards or costly rework. Now, ethical creators resist the temptation to oversimplify or sensationalize or chase engagement at the expense of accuracy. They avoid quick fixes that could be misled inexperienced professionals, and also emphasize proper procedures, standards alignments, and also risk awareness. This commitment signals that your content is not just educational, but it contributes to a safer, more reliable industry practice. Maintaining professional boundaries, this protects your credibility. So as your visibility grows, you may receive requests for advice that crosses into consulting, specification writing, or project-specific recommendations. Ethical creators know when to draw the line. They provide general guidance, but they avoid giving prescriptive direction without full context or contractual responsibility. Now, this boundary protects both you and your audience, ensuring that your content remains educational first rather than inadvertently becoming unqualified project guidance. Ethical communication includes representing the industry fairly and also inclusively. Professionalism means also acknowledging that there is a diversity of environments within it. There are also different global practices and technical approaches across the coatings and corrosion world. Ethical creators avoid portraying their own experience as the only correct method. Instead, they highlight that there are regional variations, there are alternative solutions, and the importance of context. Well, this inclusive approach not only strengthens credibility, but also fosters a more collaborative, globally aware industry culture. So let's do the final thoughts. The future belongs to technical communities. The protective coatings and corrosion industries, as I said earlier, are really entering into an era where communication is not just as critical as technical expertise. As infrastructure challenges grow more and complex workforces continue to evolve, the professionals who can clearly explain concepts, share lessons learned, and also translate standards into practical guides will really help shape the future of the field. Technical communicators, those who blend deep knowledge with the ability to teach, simplify, and inspire, are becoming indispensable. They really help bridge generational gaps, which accelerates learning, and it also ensures that critical knowledge that doesn't remain siloed at job sites. Labs or also individuals who step forward to educate will define how the next generation understands corrosion control and protective coatings. And more importantly, technical communication is no longer a side skill. It's a leadership skill. The professionals who consistently share insights, elevate others, and contribute to the industry's collective intelligence, they naturally become trusted voices. They influence best practices, shape conversations, and help rise the overall standard of work across the global coatings and corrosion industries. Now, as digital transformation continues to reshape how we learn and collaborate, the demand for clear, credible, and engaging technical content will only grow. The future belongs to those who are willing to teach, to communicate with purpose, and to those who expertise is strength can help us strengthen the industry. By embracing the role of technical communicator, you're not just creating content, you're building a legacy that will outlast any single project or coding system. So let's go ahead and wrap up this Coatings Talk live stream. First, I want to thank everyone who joined in this conversation. Like I said, this article did extremely well, and I highly encourage professionals in the coatings and corrosion industries, no matter what level you're working in or supporting, please consider becoming a content creator and follow your own niche and develop your own voice. Now, your engagement, your questions, and your willingness to share field realities, that's really what helps make this community, the Coatings Talk community, so strong. With every live stream, it really helps remind us that the coatings and corrosion industries, that they thrive when knowledge is shared openly and professionals really come together to elevate the craft. In today's discussion, hopefully it sparked some ideas. It clarified, what I was talking about in the article, and maybe it helped you kind of focus on what you need to do be moving forward. Now, when this broadcast, in this broadcast, it did exactly what it was meant to, and hopefully it support you who also protect the world's most critical assets. Now, before I sign off, I want to encourage everyone to take the next step in staying informed by subscribing to the Coatings Talk Insight articles. And for those of you that are of the nearly 4,500 subscribers, thank you. And if you're not subscribed on LinkedIn, it's time to get access into our growing library of in-depth articles that are designed clearly with context and real-world relevance. Insight really dives deeper into the topics, and I explore a lot of them here on the live stream as well. So we could talk about anything from failure analysis, standard interpretation, digital tools, surface preparation and coating application, inspection, and also the evolving future of corrosion control. So it's the perfect companion to these live streams, and it's also a powerful resource for your own professional development. So make sure that you're subscribed and also stay connected and keep learning. So until next time, this is Coatings Talk, where the coatings and corrosion industries come to learn, share, and lead. So have a good rest of your evening, your night, or morning, no matter where in the world you're watching this live stream. Thank you, everyone.